you know, we became activists because we had to. So the first plant that Terry was talking about was the HGPA plant. That was the state's experimental plant. They used the University of Hawaii personnel, professionals, so they were called, the Don Thomas and Olson. They were the two main guys that had HGPA. It was an environmental disaster. They had some ponds the size of a football field, leaching all this stuff into the ground. There was no lining, and some ponds, no lining, right?
No lining.
Yeah, it was lined by caustic soda. If you look in the pond, the bottoms are white. And caustic soda is what they use to treat pipes.
The hydrogen sulfide is neutralizing hydrogen sulfide.
Thank you. We did have a techie, but I didn't get to call her, but maybe in the future we could have her. She used to back the developers up in the corner, and they hated her. But one thing good about Geothermal and Puna is they brought the people together. We became one family. Like we used to get odds all the time until Geothermal. But anyway, okay. So, the HGPA-based plant was, there was no fences. The children were caught swimming in those ponds. Don Thomas came along and told us, don't worry, it's not my fault. I just wanted to action in there. And he was really down though. But the fencing around the power plant itself was very rusty. I heard that the fence had to be replaced 3 times. I had a big folder at one time. A big poster. I know what happened to it. Okay, because in it we have a picture of Bob standing next to the big gate to the power plant, the visitor center, and he has his finger in the hole. It's full of holes. It's so rusty. The hydrogen sulfide is so corrosive. We have to change all our screens. Even our screens were corroded on our windows.
Yeah.
So, in case I forget, I think I found my way to the library. I'm not sure if it was in the hospital or somewhere. I found a library and it had information on hydrogen sulfide. I remember reading that it said that the exposure to hydrogen sulfide, the effects is long-term, low-level effect of hydrogen sulfide is it attacks your central nervous system. And I don't know how it relates to this, but I'm bringing in the ears, and it's still just look at it. Anyway, I was one of, okay, they finally shut down, and I think Sarah shared how that the buses, it was so unregulated. There was free-flowing initiatives 24/7 out of HGPA. The buses would drive right through the plume and drop the children off at their stop. And we used to have pictures of that, you know, when we tried to make a point of how unhealthy it was. So after so much trouble, and I remember Terry's father-in-law, he got arrested for trying to climb the fence after his wife got sick. And there were people that died, babies that died, and it's correlated with when they got admitted to the hospital. So all these things people need to know. That's what geothermal neighbors have been through also. Okay, so they got shut down in I think 1989.
Yeah.
They got shut down. So PGD was ready to apply for their permit. And so the state sponsored the junket to California and Nevada for 6 of us community members went. And they wanted us to, they wanted to gain our approval. Apparently, before HGPA, they took a group of Hawaiians to New Zealand. And they came back and they were in favor, apparently. You know, in our ignorance, we don't know. Before I moved here, I would hear it on the news and say, oh wow, geothermal, that'd be great. set in and learn the truth. And before I forget, the truth is, in the old days, the law of the land was called the kind of life. So whatever you did, if it was good for the people, if it's beneficial, if it could be sustained, better yet, if it could be improved, that was a goal. But if it wasn't, if it couldn't be sustained, if it was detrimental, because it harmed not just the people, the island, the animals, then that was not a goal. It never should have. But, so we went on this jump trip, California and Nevada, and we enjoyed Las Vegas. And what happened was it only confirmed our fears. Hawaii has the hottest geothermal fluids in the world. Some of the hottest geothermal fluids. It's some of the most toxic fluids. I don't know all of it. Bob probably could help me. But the ones that I can remember kind of sort of is arsenic, boron, mercury, lead, hydrogen sulfide, radon. Yeah, and there's been no studies on the effect of any of these toxins alone or combined with any other. The only thing they monitor is hydrogen sulfide. And that's bad enough. But so part going around the junket, so I came home and I made a chart of all the places we went, and I think I included New Zealand, but I included Hawaii. A chart of, the power plant, the temperature of the resource, the regulations, and like California has really good regulations. If the power plant goes over their limit, the compliance officer gets a beep. He calls them up, and if they cannot bring it back down within a certain amount of time, we shut down. That's good regulations, that protects the people. And that was just one example. I can't remember all the figures and all that stuff, but I just wanted to mention that. Also, relations. Another thing that other places have, and in a couple places in the world, there are wild wells. But I'll get back to that. But another thing they have is what they call automatic notification. One place we went, they were really proud because they had it down with their neighbors. Before the thing affects them, they get a call. They don't have to be affected and then call in and then get lied to and then find out the next day it was a big blow up, a big leak. Another thing is for neighbors, if you had to go into, I shouldn't get ahead of myself here. So automatic notification to the residents, especially people with special needs, family. We went through what Terry mentioned. I think it was Terry about the scientific observation or permits that the state applied for. That was state-sponsored exploratory wells. There were 4 of them in Puna that they got approved, and we had to live through all that too. And before PGD applied, the county changed the rules for the geothermal permitting process. You couldn't contest geothermal. So after all the permitting process, you were still, there's no appeal. You can only go into mediation with the developer, closed doors, no records kept. And it only served to improve the looks of the permit because they gave in to the things they wanted and they did it to the things they didn't want or knew they couldn't perform limits. So under Rule 12, we entered into, I think the planning commission chairperson was my husband's boss. And so after talking with my husband, he stated in the previous permit hearing that he was concerned, and that was our biggest concern, was the welfare of the people. The emergency response plan for the people. So he told the developer, you go and you talk to your neighbors, and you come back next month and see what, they came back at that time. We got taken aside by the developer, and we were offered a buyout. When they buy us out, we can, and it was real tempting. And I said, yeah, we can buy out maybe, but we gotta have it has to be available to all the neighbors, not just us. And it pulled us off the back, and we never heard about it after that. But after that, they approved the permit at the next hearing. And that was after the 60-day, the mediation was before they voted on it.
That was 1980.
Yeah, it had to have been, because that's where they came up with condition 51. At the hearing that they approved the permit, they approved this ACE card, condition 51 is going to take care of the people. And that was where they created a relocation compensation fund. And that's where the asset fund came from that they have today. Every year they put at least 50,000 or so much percent of their profits into this asset fund. And it's been tapped a few times, but it didn't solve our problems. So after that, we asked the project manager who walked the permit through the process. His name was Maurice Richard. And we asked him, what about a blowout? What happens to the community if we have a blowout? And he says, that's the worst case scenario. And sure enough, in 1991, we had a blowout. And it shut the plant down for years. Animals died. They let us see state-sponsored physicians. And, we couldn't really afford the doctor at that time. We didn't have. So I got a PTSD diagnosis. But had I known, I could do that over. I had gone for neurological tests. Because when the blowout happened in our driveway, the TPAs was 81. That's the number that I remember. It was so loud that me and Russell told him we were closer than this. And we had to yell at each other to hear each other. We still couldn't hear each other. And I think that went on for what? 31 hours. So we were located that night, but not until after, a lot of paperwork. Luckily, we moved to Lake in the office. We got us 3 rooms, because we had company at that time. And I guess we stayed in the hotel for about 4 days.
We went a couple times to hotel.
Yeah, I don't know all the details, but it was terrible. But the good thing was they were shut down for 3 years at least. I thought it was 4 years, but how many people here? Okay, so they were shut down. And then Lorraine Inoue was the mayor then. And she gave Harry Kim the Luana to make the recommendations for them to meet certain things to be able to start up again. And when it came to that time, we had big meetings at the gym at Wall High School. Big meetings, attended by a lot of people. She overruled Harry Kim and let them start up again. And again, when they granted the permit So when that was allowed to continue, again, no emergency plan for the neighbors. And so we did a petition, and that, like 31 people, they had this imaginary radius of 2,500 feet from that. Only people within that circle would be relocated or compensated. And, it only divided the people stood together to erase that line. Because the gas don't stop at 2,500 feet for the impacts. So, another thing about the blowout was it was the community that came up with all the information that was able to trace what happened when the plume went out of the plant. It went down to Kampana, and it went out into the ocean, like 25 miles. The fishermen reported that. And we had some really good people that were part of the neighbor, I'm here as a geothermal neighbor, by the way. So according to people's responses to these surveys, all the things that happened to them, as well as where they live and what happened, what time and all. The plume went down to California, came back up along like Kelly Pullman or Conway, I'm not sure where it was called, but came up and went down towards Massachusetts. So, and then another part of it went up and out towards the ocean. So it was, I thought it was really something that the community came up with, the data that the state would never have had. And so, oh gosh. So we met with the governor at that time, John Maye. He assured us that he would see what we could do about compensation relocation. And after that, we came up with 2 funds, not just a classic fund, but a compensation relocation fund. Anyway, we never got the gas mask or the emergency response plan or the automatic notification. So I guess one of the messages I want to bring is if you get to that point, which we hope, you want to catch on all these things that make a difference for the public safety. Primarily regulations. Like in California, it's regulated. Over here, all the information that they're getting is either online, and I'm not sure how they get that online, but it's being reported by them. They call it Fox watching the hen house. Everything comes from them, and there's no expertise in the government structure, so there's no competent regulation. And I think Eric Kim stood on that, even when he became mayor. We were visiting with some industry people. Anyway, so I'm going to get back to it. Okay. So during Isel in 2012, they should have toned down their plant because the storm was coming, but they didn't. And so when the storm hit, it got so bad that they decided, at one point they decided they needed to shut down. So when they tried to, apparently the shutdown takes hours. Each phase takes hours. And the valve blew. And then after that, the safety mechanism blew. And we didn't know that. I don't think the public was really ever told that, but we live right across the street. We could see the power plant from our house, the lights in it. We could see in that direction. It sounded like thunder. You know, thunder blows, and then eventually you see the lightning. But the lightning was acid, and it kept blowing like thunder. So I looked out, went on my porch and looked that way, and I think what was actually happening was the storm was making the wind blow so many different directions that the sounded like thunder. When it blew my way, I could hear it blow up. It was a blow up. And so I called the number that they put on And they told me I had to call the number on Hawaii Island. And by then I was so, I told them, can you call them? Please call them and tell them we're having a blowout. And then I found out later, there was no mention of it, but the people that got in on that lawsuit, by the way, all the lawsuits are settled out of court. So you cannot talk about it. But, the neighbors that were affected during this, more so because the trees were all falling down the driveways and along the roads. They got stuck. One guy in his walk-in closet, he put his bed mattress in there and his girlfriend, and they locked themselves in there, and he knocked out for 13 hours straight. And that was the magic number. A lot of people say they were knocked out for like 13 hours straight in their bathrooms. People just had to hunker down wherever they could in their homes because you couldn't go anywhere. So I just wanted to share that. And there's just so much stuff that happened with them. Like, when this first started, we met with the developer. He would come to our homes and he'd ask, try and promote geothermal, saying how great it is and what. And I remember asking him, what about the water table when you re-inject this stuff? What happens to the water? And he said, well, it doesn't, there's already a geothermal reservoir down there. And so I said, well, what's going to happen to that? And he admitted it, but eventually it's going to go down to sea level. I never forgot that. I think it's important that people understand that that's what's happening. Apparently they had some incidents down in the warm ponds, at least the warm ponds I heard, Aurora brought that up, that there was a smell, I don't know, but it's not good. And in conclusion, I just want to say that geothermal down in Hawaii is penal. It goes against Aloha, it goes against the Kanawai Kanaka, and the Kanawai Apua. They did not get the survival number. It threatens the people, the neighbors, the flora and the fauna, and it's a power. So, thank you.